Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, strap in, we're going to take a look at some coffee. Today we're going to be checking out the Coffee Stout Cold Brew Detroit Variety Pack from Brew Detroit. Now this has 4 different kinds of coffee stouts, cold brew coffee stouts. It has Cold Brew, Churro, Horchata, and Mocha Habanero. Now these are all 6% ABV cans. There's 4 cans in this pack. I paid $12.99 for this 4-pack, which I think is a pretty good deal considering you get 4 beers. And let's take a look. On the side here, you can see it says Cold Brew, Horchata, Churro, and Mocha Habanero. Again, it's the Coffee Stout Variety Pack, and it's 6% alcohol by volume, 16 ounce, 4 cans. So let's take a look at the cans here. And we're just going to kind of go through these in no particular order, just whatever they're getting taken out of here from. Because it's going to be a little bit maybe of a longer review, we'll see. I'm not going to do so much of the label stuff that I usually do, but we're going to just take a look here. This one is the Brew Detroit Horchata. It is a stout brewed with coffee. It says it's a cold brew coffee stout with a hint of cinnamon, sugar, nutmeg, and vanilla from Brew Detroit, and 6% alcohol by volume, and then it has the Brew Detroit information. This is the first time I'm seeing these. As you can see, I just opened the box. And then on this one, this is the just Cold Brew Detroit Coffee Stout. This is notes of chocolate, caramel, and toffee complement locally roasted cold steeped coffee. And again, it has the Detroit, Michigan information here, a little map, the independent craft beer logo, 6% alcohol by volume. Again, tells you it's from Brew Detroit. Now this one is the Mocha Habanero. It says a cold brew coffee stout with chocolate nibs and habanero. Again, same information, 6% by volume, as I mentioned before. And then we have the Churro version of it. And on the side, it says smooth drinking cold brew coffee stout with a hint of cinnamon, Detroit, Michigan. Independent craft beer logo, 6% alcohol by volume. I'm just going to tell you, if I had my pick, the one that's probably going to be the hardest for me is going to be the habanero one right here, the Mocha Habanero. Spicy beer sometimes just doesn't work out with me. It doesn't agree. But stouts are a little bit different. It seems like those spicy kind of stouts, they can kind of hold their own for me personally. So what I'm going to do here, if you haven't seen one of these before where I compare beers, I'm going to open all 4, smell them out of the can, pour them, then I'm going to try them. With these, I'm probably just going to have little sips of them, talk about them, and then at the end, I'll just kind of do my own ranking. And we're going to start off with the Horchata, and we're all going to use the same kind of glass. These are Belgian-style snifter glasses. Maybe that's not the best glass for this, but to be perfectly honest, I had 4 of these really readily available, and I figured it'd be the best way to go. Apples to apples, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and crack this and put a nose on it. Getting a really nice coffee aroma out of it. That's kind of the overwhelming aroma. I'm not getting much of any kind of sweetness, but it smells, actually it smells like a sweetened coffee, a little bit like a sweetened coffee. So let's go ahead and pour it. Really nice and dark out of the can. It's got a just slight khaki head to it. It's going to pour it up that much. And getting about maybe like 2.5 fingers worth of head. And just to let you know, this was canned, it looks like on November 9th. These just hit shelves. Maybe earlier for this week for me, when I'm recording, it's November 22nd. So this is a Sunday. It pretty much came out like the week before this video came out. So that head is really nice. Got a nice kind of coffee colored head, or again, like tan. Not coffee, but tan, and it's really nice. I like when you see the bubbles like that. They're like nice and large, and then you got some dense ones surrounding it. Let's put a better nose on it, though. Yeah, I'm getting like I'm getting kind of a sweetened coffee. It's more on the coffee side. It's not such an earthy smell, but it's more like a roasted coffee smell. Maybe getting a hint of like again, like a sweetened coffee. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set this over to the side. Hopefully you're still going to, yep, you should still be able to see that. Looking at my monitor real quick. I'm just going to put the beer behind the glass behind the can so that I'm aware of which one is which. Next, we just have the regular Cold Brew Detroit Coffee Stout. I believe this is the one that they generally release every year. I think these other ones are new flavors, but I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and, nobody's perfect, including me. Let's go ahead and crack this and put a nose on the can. And I think with this one, I'm just getting more of that coffee aroma without that sweetened kind of aroma like I got on this first one. Let's go ahead and pour it. And it's coming out dark out of the can. It's got a little bit of a transparency, but I think that's more of the light hitting it. With this one, the Cold Brew, getting about 2 fingers worth of head. I was a little less aggressive on the pour. The head itself, though, is a lot denser, a lot tighter. It is more of it's a little bit darker. It's very similar, though. The 2 heads are very similar. And let's put a nose on the glass. Yeah, and again, just getting more of like a coffee aroma, similar to the horchata or the horchata version, but without the sweetness. But yeah, I mean, it smells like a good coffee stout. And let's just set this to the side. And now we're at the halfway point of pouring this. I just wanted to thank my executive producer, Ryan Barry. If you would like to support the channel or become an executive producer, go to patreon.com/draft_therapy. I'll also link it in the description below. You can find out more on how to support the channel. So next, we're going to move on to the Mocha Habanero. And again, this is the one that I thought I might have a little problem with. Obviously, I haven't I've smelled all of them, but I haven't tasted any of these yet. So that's just kind of, I'm being biased. You know, I'm giving it some future bias, I guess. So let's go ahead and crack this. Again, this was November 9th. This was canned. Let's go ahead and crack it. The label, let's talk about the labels real quick. I'm not going to show them up close, but the labels are all pretty cool. They're all very similar, have this kind of similar theme. I guess I need a glass to pour into. So let's go ahead and crack this and put a nose on it. All right, try it out. I'm a can sniffer, as you can tell by the shirt. And what I'm getting here is just more of the coffee, but I'm going to see if sometimes pouring it, you get a little bit of a different aroma. Speaking of the shirt, if you're interested, I'll leave a link below on how you can attain this shirt on your own. But pouring it, it's coming out actually a little bit darker than the first 2. It's more of a coffee, of course, a little bit more of a cola look to it. The head is a little bit darker on this one, a little bit more tan, a little darker brown than the first 2 beers were. And I'm getting about a finger and a half worth of head on this one. Bubbles, the head is very similar to the first 2. The head is dense. If I'm looking at the heads on these 2, the first one that I poured, which was remind myself again, the horchata, is still hanging on a little bit stronger. It's kind of lacing up the side, whereas the regular just cold brew coffee stout isn't doing so much. But this one has a nice head on it. Let's put a nose to it. I feel like this one, the aroma is more of a roasty coffee aroma than the first 2. And some of that I think can be attributed to maybe like a spicy note that I'm just not all, 100% all in on getting, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit of it. And the last one here that we have is the Churro. If I have to say, like, preliminarily without tasting these, the 2 that I would think that I would enjoy the most are going to be the Churro and the horchata. But, we'll see. That's why we do these videos, because so we can try them out and we can test these theories. So let's go ahead and crack this one. I like this can, though. I feel like this one's the most kind of colorful. It's got a coffee cup with the churros sticking out of it. I do like the habanero, the habanero, Mocha Habanero version. Now that thinking mocha, I'm not really getting much of a mocha vibe out of that, but let's move on to this next one, which is the churro. So cracking this one and putting a nose on it. This one, I would think I would get more of like a cinnamon kind of sugary smell of it, a bit of a more sweetness. I don't know if sugar really has an aroma, but I would think that I would get more of a sweet aroma, more of a cinnamon. And I'm just getting like a coffee. So it's not really anything kind of jumping out at me, but let's go ahead and pour this. Just going to tip it up to get a little bit more aggressive on that pour. I still think the first one, even though my pour has been pretty similar between the 3, was just kind of had the best kind of head, coming out of the top here. And again, I'm getting about a finger and a half. A lot of the head kind of started bubbling up after the pour was over. And the head is light like these first 2. It's not so kind of, darker tan as this the Mocha Habanero one was. So let's go ahead and put a nose on this one. I feel like maybe now on the glass, I'm getting more of a kind of sweet aroma out of it. But what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go put the cans in front again. I'm just gonna move them in the order that I poured them, because I want to try them in the order that I poured them. And then I'll just kind of break it down and kind of give you my idea or what I think. I'm going to taste each one and give you my idea on each. So the first one, of course, is the horchata. And it's now that it's got a little bit more time to breathe, it does have that kind of spicy horchata aroma to it. It smells like a sweetened coffee, like I said before, but it's more amplified now that it's had a little bit more time to breathe. So cheers. So it's got a nice kind of coffee base to it. I'm getting a lot of like a cold brew coffee flavor, which of course is like the cold brew series. So that's kind of what you would expect out of that. It also tastes very mild. There's not a lot of, obviously it's 6%, so you're not getting a lot of bursting like alcohol flavors, or there's no sting at all. This doesn't really even taste like there's much alcohol really in this, but what I'm getting is a lot of coffee roasty flavors. It tastes like a cold brew coffee, and then on the tail, on the swallow, it's just this really nice kind of hint of a little bit of like just a nice chocolatey kind of flavor in there. It's not like overly sweet chocolate. It's not overly bitter, but it almost reminds me of more like a Mexican chocolate, which makes sense. It's horchata. Yeah, it's just a really pleasant flavor. It's not too strong in any kind of arena, any kind of area. It doesn't blow out any kind of flavor. It's just really nice and subtle. Again, you get a lot of that coffee flavor, and you just get this subtle chocolatey kind of flavor in there as well. A little bit maybe of a spice in there, but I can't really put my finger on what spice it is. But it's just a nice, mild kind of overall flavor. And again, I was picking this and the churro to be my odds-on favorites. But let's move on to the next one and see how that one sticks up. So this one is just the straight up cold brew. I have never had the cold brew coffee stout. I know it came out last year, but I didn't get a chance to try it. So let's try this one out. But let's put a little nose on it again. Yeah, again, just getting kind of a straightforward coffee aroma. So let's try it out. Cheers. This one has a little bit there, so they've both been kind of light mouthfeels. They're both very comparable. This one, I'm glad that I kind of mentioned that, because it gave time for my tongue to kind of adapt to it a little bit. What I'm getting more, it's a light flavor, or a light mouthfeel. It's not heavy, it's not thick, it's not syrupy, it's not even really medium. It's more on that light end. And at first, I was thinking like, man, it has such a nice cold brew, a nice coffee aroma, but I'm not really getting much of the taste. And what it is at first, you get kind of like more of a thin coffee flavor. Again, like a cold brew, it's a little bit lighter. It's not so, it's brewed to be not as bitter as a hot coffee. And with this, it's kind of the same thing. Like at first, I just get this really nice kind of light, airy coffee flavor. But then as you swallow, and it kind of is able to sit on your tongue for a little bit, and it hits all your taste buds and all your little receptors, it starts to get a bit more of a coffee kind of deepness, a little bit more of a coffee kind of bitterness in there as well. It's really true to its word. Like I said, it's almost baffling how you can get such a light kind of coffee flavor at first, but then it just really develops, really flourishes more into this deep kind of coffee roasty flavor. It's not gonna blow your socks off if you're drinking this, and the way that I'm describing it makes you think that you're gonna get just this, boosh, this big blast of coffee. It's not like that. It's more of a cold brew coffee, as the label implies. It's more of like that kind of light coffee flavor at first, and then as the flavor kind of sinks in a little bit more, that's where you get a little bit more of that coffee. So let's move on to the next one, and I believe this is the Mocha Habanero. Yes, that's correct. Again, I really like this design. I think the churro is really cool, but I just like the geometric shapes on this one and how it kind of fades down. It reminds me of is it Diego Rivera mural at the DIA? It kind of has that coloration to it. But let's go ahead and put a nose on this one again, just real quick. Again, I'm just getting kind of a coffee aroma. I'm not really getting much of a sweet kind of profile, or sweet profile. Not getting much of like a spicy profile, but let's see how it tastes. So cheers. Okay. I may stand corrected on this. At first, I do get a lighter chocolate flavor. I do get a lighter, milkier kind of chocolate flavor, and then it kind of subsides and it kind of develops into that coffee flavor. But then, also with that coffee flavor, you do get a bit of a spiciness. But the thing is, it says Mocha Habanero, and you get that smoky habanero flavor, but you don't get the spice. There's not like that burn to it. But let's take another drink. On the swallow specifically, so at first, again, you get that kind of sweet chocolate, but on the swallow specifically, I kind of mixed it up in the first kind of time I talked about it. But what happens is you get that bit of sweetness on the front, you swallow it, and on the swallow, that's when that milky kind of chocolate flavor and the smokiness and a little bit of that spiciness come through, and a little bit of that coffee, and then as it kind of sits on your tongue, as with these other two, that's when you get a little bit, that smokiness really sits there, and there's just this little bit of spicy kind of bite on the back of my tongue, like as it, in the back of my throat. That's where I really picked that up, and I think I might, this may have swung me. I think this one really has an impressive kind of flavor profile. All these beers have been lighter mouthfeel, there's nothing, again, nothing syrupy, nothing heavy, but this one is the sneakiest so far. That's really cool. I really think that's pretty nice. So let's move on to this last one. And I think a little foreshadowing, this may take the crown on all these. The spiciness does kind of, on subsequent drinks, I feel like it is starting to kick up a little bit, but I don't feel like it's something that's going to disagree with me, but we'll see. All right, so the last one here is the Churro. Again, I'm expecting cinnamon flavors. I'm expecting a little bit of sweetness, again, with the coffee. The head here is still, this beer, the head is still on this one, and I find that kind of almost just kind of crazy. I didn't expect the head to be sitting on this one, but let's put a little bit of a nose on it, and then we'll drink it. I feel like I'm picking up a little bit more on the cinnamon on this subsequent smell, so let's try it out. Cheers. So with this one, I find that it is like definitely getting cinnamon for sure. A little bit on the it's really kind of odd in a good way. You get the cinnamon at the very start. You get a little bit of the coffee as it kind of swirls in your mouth. So it's almost like just a regular cold brew with a little bit of cinnamon up front. And then when you swallow, you get the sweetness, you get the sugar, you get a little bit of a cinnamon kind of twist on the tail end. So the cinnamon starts it off, a little bit of coffee in the middle. Then on the swallow, you get the sweetness, and then you get the cinnamon. It's like sugar and cinnamon mixed together. Straight up churro. Like, I was not expecting to get this close of a churro taste out of it. Yeah, that second swallow is where you're getting, it's just really cool to get something that's really that close to what it says on the can. I feel like the coffee flavor is there throughout, but again, you get the cinnamon on the up front, you get a little bit of the coffee flavor. The coffee flavors just kind of rounds it all off, and then on the swallow, you get that sweet, kind of sugary, cinnamony kind of flavor throughout. And I'm really, honestly, very happy with this whole 4-pack. I feel like all of these have been very stellar. They've all been what they say they are, and I think that's so really hard to get these days with beer. You see all these kind of colorful language, or like all these different flavors or fruity flavors or whatever it says on the can, and then you try it and it's just like womp womp. You don't really get any of that. So I think it's really impressive that, that we can have something where, it says it's going to be horchata and it tastes really close to that. It says it's going to be cold brew that's what it is. You know, you get the I want to keep wanting to say mango habanero. You get the mocha habanero. That's what you get. You get the mocha, you get the habanero, and you get the churro, and you get the cinnamon. You get you get the coffee, and then you get the cinnamon and sugar on the tail end. It's very difficult to rank these. They're all very, very close. I would have to say, going in, you know, reverse order from 4 to 1, you can't go wrong with any of these. If you saw these on the shelves, if you wanted to just try a cold brew coffee stout, I think all these are great choices. So don't let my ranking kind of sway you on making you think that any of these are not worthy of a pickup. But I would say the cold brew would be my number 4. I would say really close that my my number 3 would be horchata, but I do like that one a lot too. Man, number 2 and number 1, it's so close. I'm just so blown away by how much, you know, churro really lives up to its name. But I think I'm gonna have to go number 2 would be churro. And the reason I'm giving number 1 to the mocha habanero is just because it has so much just really cool. It just, again, as I mentioned, I'm not a spicy beer kind of guy, but it really, you know, really impressed me with how smooth it can be while still holding on to those kind of spicy notes as well. So again, if I'm going to rank them in reverse order, I'm going to go horchata number 4, cold brew number 3. I'm going to go with churro number 2. All these are very close. And then mocha habanero as number 1. All right, friends, that has been the cold brew coffee stout variety pack from Brew Detroit. Have you had these before? Have you had the cold brew before? Do you have a favorite? Let us know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you. If you're interested in a Can Sniffer t-shirt, I'm also going to have it in the description below this video. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.